I never thought my life would turn into one of those old Western showdowns, where the quiet gunslinger gets pushed too far and the whole town pays the price. But here I was, Jack Harlan, staring at my dusty pickup truck in the parking lot of Frontier Logistics in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The sun was beating down like it does out here in the Southwest, turning the asphalt into a wavy mirage. I'd spent 8 years wrangling their payroll system, a beast I'd built from scratch back when the company was just a handful of warehouses shipping goods across the Rockies and down to Texas. It wasn't glamorous work, hell. Most folks think payroll's about as exciting as watching tumbleweeds roll, but I treated it like my own ranch. Every deduction, every overtime calc, every tax bracket for those long-haul truckers and warehouse hands was locked down tighter than a vault in Vegas. That morning, though, everything changed. My phone buzzed at dawn, right as I was pouring my first cup of black coffee in my trailer on the outskirts of town. It was Sarah from HR, her voice shaky, like she'd just seen a rattlesnake. "Jack, you need to come in early. Big meeting." I knew something was off, the kind of gut feeling you get when the wind shifts before a dust storm. By the time I pulled up in my Ford F-150, the office was buzzing. The new VP of Operations, a slick guy named Brad Weston, was strutting around like he owned the place. He'd blown in from Silicon Valley a few months back, all talk of disrupting logistics with his cloud apps and AI nonsense. His kid, Tyler, fresh out of some fancy business school in California, was his right-hand man. Tyler looked like he'd stepped out of a Patagonia catalog, beard trimmed just so, wearing those expensive hiking boots indoors. They called me into the conference room, the one with the fake cactus in the corner to make it feel Western. Brad didn't waste time. "Jack, we've appreciated your contributions," he said, leaning back in his chair with that condescending smile. "But we're modernizing. Tyler here's gonna streamline payroll through the cloud. No more of that clunky legacy code." Legacy code. That's what they called my system, the one that had never missed a beat, handling everything from union dues for the Teamsters drivers to 401k matches for the office staff. I'd caught fraud attempts, fixed glitches during tax season, even navigated those tricky state laws for employees crossing borders from New Mexico to Arizona or Colorado. But to them, it was prehistoric. I didn't yell or beg. I'm not that type. Out here, you don't waste words on fools. "You've got until the next pay run," I said calmly, staring Brad right in the eyes. "After that, you'll notice." They chuckled, like I was some old-timer spinning yarns around a campfire. Tyler smirked and tossed a stress ball. "Scripts and batches? Come on, man. It's 2026. We're talking real-time dashboards." An intern handed me a cardboard box for my stuff, no severance, no notice. Just transitioned out. I packed to my desk, the one tucked between the server room and the old filing cabinets that smelled like mesquite smoke from the break room grill. As I walked out, Sarah tried to say something, but I just tipped my hat and left. Driving home through the high desert, the Sandia Mountains looming like silent witnesses, I felt a mix of anger and relief. I'd built in safeguards years ago, not sabotage. Mind you, that's not legal or right. Just insurance. The system had layers of logic, time-locked keys, and overrides only I knew. It was compliant with every federal and state reg, IRS rules, DOL wage laws, even the nuances of New Mexico's paid sick leave mandates. If they tampered without understanding, it'd cascade. But I wasn't out for blood. I just wanted them to learn you can't treat people like disposable gear. The first signs came quick. A text from an old buddy in accounting. "Hey Jack, mileage reimbursements are glitching for the truckers. Then, a missed bonus for the warehouse crew in Phoenix. I still had access to a mirror log I'd set up for testing, forgotten in the shuffle. Like me. I watched from my home setup, a beat-up desk in my trailer with a view of sagebrush and endless sky. Tyler was deleting scripts he didn't get, renaming files like he was rebranding a startup. He nuked a patch for union dues under the Railway Labor Act, still active for our rail-connected shipments. Poof. Contributions froze. By the end of the week, complaints rolled in like monsoon floods. A driver in Denver didn't get his overtime. A manager in Salt Lake had taxes withheld wrong. Sarah emailed the team about transition hiccups, but I knew it was building. Out here, in the West, folks live paycheck to paycheck, ranch hands, truckers, families scraping by on oil patch wages. Missing pay isn't a glitch, it's a crisis. I didn't interfere. Instead, I filed for my LLC, Harlan Payroll Solutions. Tagline: proven, not flashy. I'd been thinking about going independent for years, consulting for small outfits across the Southwest. The big crash hit on payday. Over 400 employees, truckers hauling freight through the canyons, warehouse folks in dusty boots, woke up to empty banks. The batch run fired but rejected everything: checksum errors, integrity violations, legal stuff I'd built to prevent fraud under federal wire laws. Now, it was biting them. Unions started growling, the Teamsters threatened strikes, citing breaches under the National Labor Relations Act. A federal subcontractor for DOT shipments flagged it as a compliance violation, which could trigger audits. I was out fishing in the Rio Grande when the call started. Brad's number popped up, but I let it ring. Voicemail. Jack, we need to talk. Urgently. I didn't smile or gloat. Just cast my line, watching the water ripple under the bright sun. The chaos unfolded like a wildfire in dry brush, slow at first, then all-consuming. From my trailer, I monitored the logs on my old laptop, the screen flickering under the harsh New Mexico light streaming through the window. Tyler had turned the system into a Frankenstein's monster, patching in cloud tools that clashed with the core logic. He'd overwritten redundancies I designed for multi-state compliance, things like varying minimum wages in California versus Utah, or handling garnishments under federal child support laws. Now, everything was locked. Pension mismatches, 401k transfer stalled, health savings accounts frozen past IRS deadlines. By midday, the office in Albuquerque was a madhouse. I got snippets from ex-colleagues via text, careful not to breach any NDAs. Of course. Jack, it's bad. Drivers are refusing loads. Out west. Logistics is lifeblood. Goods moving through passes like Wolf Creek or over the Hoover Dam. A payroll freeze meant families couldn't pay bills. Buy groceries in towns like Moab or Flagstaff. It wasn't just numbers, it was people. Sarah messaged, unions are filing grievances. Legal's panicking about FLSA violations. The Fair Labor Standards Act, yeah. Missing overtime for hourly workers could rack up penalties fast. Brad was sweating bullets, pacing the halls in his designer cowboy boots he probably bought at a tourist shop. Tyler, holed up in the conference room, scribbling on a whiteboard with terms like flush the cash and manual sync, as if Payroll was some app you reboot. They tried manual overrides, but my safeguards kicked in, anti-tampering protocols compliant with SOX regs for financial integrity. Files flagged as altered. Locked out. A restore attempt failed due to timestamp mismatches. Beautiful. In a tragic way. The CEO, a no-nonsense type named Hank Riley, who'd built the company from a single truck in Wyoming, flew in from his ranch in Montana. He wasn't the flashy type, more like a weathered cowboy with a Harvard degree. But even he looked grim, staring at dashboards showing red across the board. Exposure, millions in potential fines, class actions under state wage theft laws in places like Nevada. One exec whispered, "Jack warned us." That lit the fuse. Fingers pointed at Brad. "You fired the guy who built this without a handover?" Tyler slunk into the background. His confidence evaporated like morning dew. I wasn't reveling in it. Truth be told, it hurt a bit. I'd poured my soul into that system, making sure every ranch hand mom or oil rig dad got what they earned. But pride goes before the fall, as they say out here. Brad called again, his voice cracking. "Jack, please. We're drowning." I didn't pick up. Instead, I drove into town for a burger at the local diner, chatting with folks about the weather. Normal life. But inside, I was wrestling. Revenge felt hollow. Maybe there was a better way. As evening fell, the sun painting the desert gold, more calls came.
Hank himself this time.
Voicemail. "Jack, it's Hank. I know we screwed up. Let's talk man to man." I listened, staring at the stars emerging over the mesas. Out west, we value straight talk, redemption. But I needed time. The next day, complaints went public. A trucker posted on Reddit, "Frontier Logistics stiffed us. Payday came and went." It went viral in trucking forums. Unions escalated, threatening walkouts that could halt shipments across the Intermountain West. Legal warned of DOL investigations, possible debarment from federal contracts. Brad's team tried hiring emergency consultants from Denver, but they scratched their heads. This logic's custom, airtight, but locked without keys. I spent the afternoon hiking in the foothills, clearing my head. The wind whispered through pinyon pines, reminding me of simpler times. My ex-wife used to say I was too loyal, sticking with the company through lean years.
Now,
here I was, independent but tied by invisible threads. When I got back, an email from Hank. "Name your terms. We need you." I drafted a response but didn't send it. Let them stew a bit longer. Not out of spite, but to drive the lesson home. Respect the foundations. The storm peaked as the weekend loomed, turning Frontier Logistics headquarters into a pressure cooker under the relentless southwestern sun. Logs showed cascading failures, negative balances on stubs, misrouted union dues violating collective bargaining agreements. In Texas, where some drivers were based, it breached the payday law, fines per employee. Sarah texted, "Class action brewing. Folks are scared." Jack. I felt a pang. These weren't faceless numbers. They were neighbors. Like the guy at the feed store, whose kid needed braces. Hank called a war room meeting. From leaks, I pictured it. Execs around the table. Coffee stains on printouts of error codes. Brad deflecting blame. Tech debt from outdated systems. But Hank cut through. "You mean the systems that worked flawlessly until you meddled?" Tyler was sidelined, his cloud dreams in tatters. Legal laid it out. Potential ERISA violations for retirement plans, federal lawsuits. Penalties in the 7 figures.
plus,
Whistleblower risks if employees framed it as negligence. Someone mentioned my name again. Jack built safeguards for this exact reason, compliance. The room shifted. Hank asked, "Have we reached him?" Brad admitted the voicemails. "Get him here," Hank ordered. But I wasn't biting yet. I drove out to White Sands, the gypsum dunes glowing under the moon, reflecting on my path. Fired without cause, legal in Atwell, New Mexico, but morally bankrupt. I'd consulted a lawyer friend in Santa Fe, no wrongful termination. But leverage?
Plenty.
Monday dawned bright. The crisis boiling over. Deposits still frozen. A federal vendor for BLM shipments filed a formal complaint, triggering possible audits. Unions picketed a warehouse in Colorado Springs. Media sniffed around. Logistics giant Mrs. Payroll. Workers left high and dry. Hank emailed personally. Jack, come to the office. Let's fix this together. I showed up unannounced, parking my truck amid the shiny SUVs. The lobby felt tense, like a saloon before a brawl. Sarah hugged me, thank God. Hank met me in his office, overlooking the Rio Grande Valley. No bluster, just a firm handshake. We messed up.
Jack.
Ignored your expertise. Brad hovered. Apologetic. Sorry.
Man.
We thought. I cut him off. You thought wrong. Tyler wasn't there. Rumor was he'd been sent packing. We talked terms. I wasn't returning full-time. Consultant role. Triple my old rate.
No oversight.
Full access.
Plus.
A clause for knowledge transfer. Train successors properly. Hank agreed, adding a bonus for the mess. And an apology to the team, I said. He nodded. Logging in. I saw the wreckage. Loops I'd never intended, but born of their tampering. It took hours to untangle, patching union logic under NLRB rules, realigning 401k as per IRS guidelines. By evening, partial deposits flowed. Employees got emails, corrections incoming, our fault. As I worked, Hank pulled me aside. Why'd you build it so locked? To protect everyone, I replied. From errors. Fraud.
Non-compliance.
He sighed. Lesson learned. With the immediate fires doused, the real work began, rebuilding trust amid the sage-scented winds of the Southwest. I worked remotely mostly, from my trailer with its creaky porch swing, but popped into the office for sessions. Taught a new hire, Maria from Tucson. The ropes. Logic first. Flash later. She got it, smart kid.
No ego.
Brad stepped down quietly, taking personal leave. Hank promoted internally, valuing experience. Tyler, last I heard, back in Cali, chasing startups. No hard feelings, life's too short for grudges out here. Employees got back pay with interest, per state laws. Hank issued a company-wide apology. We undervalued our backbone. Unions settled, praising the fixes. I consulted on updates, integrating some cloud tools, but with my safeguards. Compliant. Efficient. One evening, Hank invited me to his ranch outside town.
Over steaks grilled over mesquite.
We talked. You could have let us burn, he said. Why help? Because it's not about revenge, I replied. It's about doing right by folks who depend on us. He nodded, the stars twinkling above. Fair enough. My LLC took off, gigs for small outfits in Wyoming, Arizona. Balanced life, fishing, hiking, coding under open skies. Word count, 1002. Wait, this part is shorter?
No.
Expand for full count. The days blurred into a rhythm of restoration, each keystroke mending what arrogance had torn. From my setup, I dove deep, recalibrating tax schemas for cross-state workers, ensuring FLSA overtime compliance for night shift loaders in Vegas warehouses. Emails poured in, grateful ones. Thanks,
Jack.
Rents paid. It warmed me, like sun on red rock. In-office trainings became forums. Why the locks? Someone asked. To avoid lawsuits, DOL fines can bankrupt us. Eyes widened. Understanding dawned. Maria shadowed me. This is gold. I shared freely, no more tribal knowledge hoarding. Hank overhauled policies, mandatory handovers, respect for legacy systems. Brad's exit was mutual. He learned humility.
Or so rumor said.
Tyler emailed an apology. I was cocky. Saw the... I replied. Live and learn. A team barbecue sealed it, under clear skies. Laughter echoing. Hank toasted. To Jack, our quiet hero. I raised my beer. To second chances. Business boomed. I hired help.
Manturing locals.
Life felt full, trails hiked. Rivers fished. Systems secured. In the end, the ordeal became a turning point. Not a tragedy, a gentle reminder that in the vast West, humility outlasts hubris. Frontier logistics thrived, payroll humming like a well-oiled engine. I consulted part-time, enjoying freedom, road trips through canyons, volunteering at a community center teaching tech to kids from reservations. The lesson? Value people over trends. Hank implemented annual reviews honoring unsung heroes. No more firings without cause, mediations first. Per updated policies. One crisp morning, watching dawn break over the mountains, I reflected. The payroll apocalypse taught forgiveness.
Growth.
I wasn't bitter, empowered. As the proverb goes, the wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Years on, folks still share the story around campfires, how one man's stand led to redemption. And me, I'm just Jack, keeping things steady in the Wild West. The resolution unfolded with quiet grace. The desert blooming after rain. Systems stabilized, audits passed with flying colors. Employees felt secure. Turnover dropped. I expanded my LLC, partnering with firms in Idaho, Oregon, spreading reliable payroll wisdom. Hank and I became friends, fishing buddies, sharing stories of hard knocks. You saved us, he said once.
No, ikundet.
We saved each other by listening. The company sponsored community events, job fairs in rural towns, scholarships for tech training. A ripple of good from chaos. Personally, I reconnected with family visits to my sister in Colorado. Mending old fences. Life cycles, storms pass. Leaving clear skies. The true win? Humanity prevailing. In America's heartland West, where vastness humbles, we learned, respect the builders, embrace the lessons, and move forward, wiser.